The 63. This is the Outside Gate with Steve Hall on the L4 Media Network, where we talk moto and anywhere the conversation goes. And today, for a bit of a chinwag, we have umpteen-time Aussie champion and all-around Aussie moto legend, Craig Anderson. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good,
man.
To
be here.
Always good when I get to talk a bit of moto and talk to legends like yourself, man. It's always a good time for me, that's for sure. So, yeah, thank you. Thanks heaps for your time, man. And you've been busy lately, man. Like, I thought for a start, man, obviously quite a few of your riders are just off the back of the Adelaide Supercross. So, yeah.
Yes, it's been pretty busy. Supercross season's happening, so it's all going. Still, there's the kids that I get to work with each week. They're still doing motocross as well. So, yeah, it's always busy. It's always fun times.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you get a bit of a mixed bag of results for some of your riders at Adelaide. There, I know. You've got so many riders; it's a bit hard to keep track of who's training with you. But yeah, I know. I know at least you just off from memory. Your young Seth, that's a close title fight between him and Jack in the 85s. You still coaching Seth Thomas? Yeah.
Yes, every week we work. We was training yesterday, and man, just like that one, like win the first final and then bins it in the second one and gets a bad result, and 2 points behind in the championship. But like we always say, it's whether it's 2 points up, 2 points down, it's still a winner takes all, So it's just about putting the laps in, keeping it calm, just riding the dirt bike like he always does.
Yeah. We didn't get the 85s on the TV this time. I guess the broadcast was a little bit different, I think, because of the fact of the running with the cars and that sort of thing. I think
it was, yeah. So it was, just phone calls and stuff that I was getting, and finding out what's going on, and then you watch the live timing a little bit, and then you see them drop and whatever goes on, and you're like, and you're thinking, geez, what's happened, and you're always on the edge of your seat. But but that's Supercross. It's just one of those things you've got to be in it right, every lap, and it's easy to make a mistake, especially as a kid. One mistake can cost you a lot of points, and and it can work the other way with the guy that you're battling with. He can make a mistake, and you get a lot of points up. So it's one of those things.
It's a great thing, isn't it? Though the old 85 Cup, it's
well, I think it's
the future of the sport. Yeah,
I think so. I think it's it was a sort of not a bit of a down at that time, in 08 when the Super Rec started, and and Chad Help was part of the crew there, and they took away the juniors away from there, and it really had a big downer on a lot of the guys' careers, that they didn't get to do Supercross. So it's now that the kids are coming back and they get to do Supercross, I think it's a good thing for this generation that are doing it with, like Seth and all them guys. I think that the next generation, will be a lot stronger in Supercross, and hopefully we get another American champion.
That's right. Yeah. That's the goal, isn't it? And yeah, we're certainly doing the right thing, man. I think that's it's really cool, really cool.
Yeah, it is. It's and hey, I was lucky to ride Supercross at 12 years old, and to be in that show with all the pro guys, the guys that I looked up to when I was a little kid. It's a pretty intimidating scenario, but after a couple of rounds, you sort of relax and you do your thing, and then you sort of feel like you become part of the furniture, and then you get more confidence, and you build your speed, you build your confidence, and then all the older guys, the pro guys, sort of go and taking a bit of notice. Oh, who's this next kid coming up? And no, it's a pretty cool experience for the kids. It's great.
Yeah, cool. Who was it that you were really looking up to when you were a kid on an 85?
When I was a kid,
who was your guy?
I looked up to every single pro guy because all I wanted to be was one of those guys. So I didn't. It's kind of like my guy was Craig Dack.
Yeah.
Until he snubbed me at one of the races when I was young, and And then when he snubbed me and I waved to him and he kind of walked away. We always actually, I've had so many jokes with him about it,
Yeah,
like who's my guy, and then he done that, and I thought, nah, stuff you. You're not my guy anymore. And so then Glenn Bell was my guy, and but I mean, just every top guy that that I got to look up to, I was in awe of. Just man, I just wanted to be one of those guys. And I'm sure in my career at some point I'd done exactly the same to some little kid that's Craig Dack done to me.
Yeah.
Not on purpose, but you just you're in the moment. You got to go to a race, or you just finish from a race. Could be good or bad, and you just some things it gets missed.
Yeah, it's funny though that you're good mates now, and I'm sure you give him lots of shit about it. That's
all the time. Every time I speak to
it.
him, I always
I can imagine.
that time you just snubbed me. I was pissed at him, but I was I think I was probably 11 or 12 at the time. So yeah.
Yeah. It's cool. It's cool how many of those guys, like Bally and Dakar, like they're every round they're there, man. Like
It is. It's
obviously
special,
Craig's there and Bally's there with Penrite and that sort of
yes.
thing. It's really cool.
Even just went to Maitland this year, and talking to Belly, and he a few years ago when we went to the vintage motocross nations in Farley Castle, he was one of the guys that come over and was working together, and it was like one of those things, in the 80s and the 90s, he was the king, and I was that little kid starting to try to be that guy, and to hang out with him and hear his stories, and it's pretty cool.
It is, man. Yeah. I know one of I can't remember exactly which round. I get to sort of what I can. I don't get to all of them. Traveling around Australia is so damn expensive, but the I saw Craig and Glenn were just sort of the middle of the day there, and they obviously each had a little bit of time, and they're just having a chin wag, just cruising around, And I walked past them, and I just had a grin from ear to ear. And my daughter's like, "What happened? Why are you laughing?" And I said, "No, I'm smiling." And I said, "See these two guys?" Because she didn't know who the hell they were.
She's like,
and I explained to her who they were and how cool it was that they're still in 2024 in the pits talking to each other. It
is, yeah.
How really cool that is, yeah.
I mean, I still get to, when I see Belly at the races, we have a chat. I still speak to Dakar on the phone every now and again just to touch base and just see how everything's going and good luck, and so we're still keeping contact with Dakar a little bit, but it's impressive that them guys have been doing it for so long, and they're still in it, and they're still motivated, and they're still riding the show. It's great.
Yeah, it is, man. It's very, very cool. Very cool. What about your other riders? You train the Kingsford boys?
No, not so much. I've done a couple of sessions with them, but no, they just when they come up with Mossy a couple of times. Great kids, definitely a lot of talent. Yeah. But the main kids that I do get to work with Seth Thomas, Tyson Williams, Lockie Neville, Carter Thomas, Seth Birchall, obviously Mossy, Dylan Wills. Yeah. This last week, Nato Crawford's been down, Joel Campbell. So we've had a bit of a group together and been working, trying to get all the little bits ironed out. But it's like everything, you can go to the drawing board every week and something mightn't go right on the race day, and you're back to the drawing board, and we all go through it, at not just in sport, but just every day going to work, doing your thing. You can do all the right things and one thing don't work, and then you got to go back and see what went wrong and have another crack.
Yeah, man. Sometimes in life, you just got to pull a tear off and go again. That's it. Yeah.
Funny, like after a hard day's racing, and you've maybe had your ass handed to you, or you've crashed. It's a hard thing to swallow, but the Sunday night or the Saturday night after that, I used to enjoy sitting back and just thinking, man, what went wrong today? How can I fix that this week? And then it used to kind of motivate me to see what I could, come up with. How can I fix what I stuffed up, and then go back and have another crack? As it's a down time, and you're so pissed off that you messed up. But it's sometimes you can sit there and fix some stuff. So
it sounds like it sort of made you focus a little bit even harder when you had a downtime.
Well, it did, because hey, no one wants to get their ass handed to them, especially if you win a couple, then you lose a couple. Man, it can really turn things around, and that feeling of sitting there on the couch, a bit down, thinking how can I fix it, and then go to work. It motivates you to get up and go again. I just know that I know all these guys that have good rounds and bad rounds, that they're going through the same thing, as what we all go through. So
yeah, cool. Nice. Hey, I might get into so my favorite part of the show, and I say the same thing every show, I think. My favorite story I'll always like to hear is about when the bug bit, when your first ride, or you saw your friend's bike, or your dad took you to watch a race, or when did the motorcycling bug bite you?
Well, I actually started on a 70 Honda Trike. My dad raced dune buggies at Stockton Sand Dunes.
Okay, yeah.
So I was always around motorsport. My dad raced beach buggies. I rode a trike, just riding around just for fun. Then he bought me a Pee-wee, and then I think I had a YZ60 after that. But I was at my mate's house, and his older brother had an ADB magazine. So I'm going to say 85, maybe. No, it was an 86. So I started racing in July 86. And the magazine he would have had, it was the 60. It had a KX60 shootout in it. Okay, and he's like, man, you need a Kawasaki. This is the bike you need. I'm like, can I take the magazine? I'm going home to show my dad. And I took the magazine home, and he's like, nah, them Kawasaki's, they're shit. You're not getting one of those. And I'm like, I bet they're really good. Can I get? And I just kept hounding him. And then one day he said, look, if I get you a KX60, you'll have to start racing. I said, I don't give a shit what I got to do. Like, if I got to start racing, whatever, just as long as I get one of these bikes. So we end up getting a secondhand one, and we just would go out to the local track and just go riding. Because back in the day, the tracks were just open 24/7, so you could just go riding any day you wanted. So we'd go out there, and ride and race around and have a bit of fun. And I remember I was like my first couple of rides. It was Barry Reed, he was coming out and taking us riding, which is Chad's uncle. And he was into bikes a little bit. He had a KX125 at the time, and he'd give us a bit of coaching and sort of show us the ropes on what to expect. And then we goes out to the track, and all these fast kids are out there, and I'm just riding around. I think the only thing I had brand new was a helmet. Everything else was secondhand. It was the oldest. I probably looked like a weekend warrior. And the old man, I remember the old man saying, he says, oh, these guys are fast. You're never going to be this good. I'm like, oh, I don't know, Dad. I'm just riding around. And so that's how it all started. Then we just went to the local racetrack, and bang, here we go.
Yeah, nice. Do you remember the first crash?
Well, 6 weeks into my racing career, I broke my leg. At Lakes. There was this, out of the first turn, there was this like step up double thing, and I was trying to jump, and there was not a lot of 60 kids that were jumping this step up thing. And I said to my dad, I said, do you think I can jump? And he goes, oh, no worries. So I'm like, oh yeah, so I'm just an idiot kid, let's go. He said, just if you're going to do it, just hit it wide open. So I did pretty well, hit it wide open and swapped out, had a massive one. So fractured the tib and fib in my leg, and so I'm laying on the ground and crying and whatever, and he rolls up to me and he's, what's going on? I said, oh, my leg, and he's kind of, oh, well, he's taking my boot straight off, like just whipped it off, and I'm like screaming, and he goes, oh, look, it's not swollen, it doesn't even look broken. So he goes, just ride the bike back to the car and we'll go home. So he put me on the bike, and I rode back to the car. And then he's like, it doesn't look broken. It's not swollen. There's nothing wrong with it, And he's kind of like, you've just been a pussy, And I'm like, it's kind of pretty sore. Anyway, we goes home, and he didn't take me to the hospital. We just goes home, and I'm crawling around the house because I can't walk. And then the next day I get out of bed, I'm crawling up the hallway. And then I actually went to work with him because he had an earth moving business. Yeah. So I went to work with him, and then he had a little cattle dog that used to go to work with him. And the cattle dog bumped my leg, and it really hurt. Yeah. And he's like, oh, I better ring your mum. You better go to the hospital. So, a couple of hours later, I got a plaster up to my hip and, broken leg.
Yeah, nice. That's such an Aussie story, and it's such a moto story.
Straight
Like
up,
it's
yeah.
perfect. It's just perfect. Yeah, yeah,
6 weeks into racing and broken leg, but
yeah,
yeah, it's just it probably in a way it was probably good, because a lot of kids probably go a couple of years before they get their first broken bone, and it's a
yeah,
pretty big eye opener, their first broken bone.
yeah, yeah.
And then when I come back, I was a bit scared first up. I
Mm.
was worried about hitting jumps and whatever, and my old man, being my old man, he's pretty blunt and to the point, and he's like, you got to do this. If you this is what you do, you got to ride. You got to do the jumps as part of it. And I was like, oh, I don't want to get hurt. And he goes, oh, you don't want to get hurt? And I went, no. And he goes, all right, well, let's stop riding. I said, well, but I like riding. He goes, well, you've got to be prepared to get hurt. If you want to ride, at some point you're going to get hurt. So I went from there. I went, oh, okay, all right, I can get hurt. Okay, and we went racing, and I think it was a couple of years before I had my next injury. I think it was a while. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, nice, awesome. So, like, how long before you started going to Aussie championships and getting into sort of bigger stuff, or even New South championships or whatever?
Pretty well straight away.
Okay, yeah,
I started racing in July 1986. The first year, straight after my broken leg, my first race back was a New South Wales Ironman Championship, which was one day motocross, one day dirt track. And I won the 60 class, and I was maybe third on the 50, which back then it wasn't a 50. It was like a D-stroke 60.
yeah,
It was still a geared bike, but so it had two
yeah,
classes. So I got first on the 60 and third on the 50. And then obviously Christmas come around, and then my first Australian title was a dirt track title in 1987. And I won the 60 class straight up, and I think maybe fourth or fifth on the 85. And then straight away, 1988 was my first Australian motocross title. But I was a fifth, 60 and 80, and I won both titles straight away in 88. And then backed it up again in 89, 60 and 80 in Perth at Manjimup, which was a bit of an eye-opener, go and ride for sand for the first time. I think the first day we went practicing, I think I lost count in the first hour how many crashes I had. I was really, really bad. But just lucky that I went riding in the sand and practicing, and crashed and burned the week leading in. So when the race come around, I'd got the crashes out of the way.
Yeah.
So pretty lucky to be winning straight away. But this is all we've done. We just went riding every day, and I was quite lucky because we just lived in a normal house block, but we had a lot of bush down the road. So we just ride the bike straight down the road into the bush, and my dad made a motocross track in the bush with his earth moving stuff.
Oh, cool. Yeah. That's the go. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, lucky to have that. Yeah, have Dad with the machine there.
It was because he would just go, okay, this under the power lines. He just dozed the track in, and then in the end, he ended up building a full blown supercross track. And then there was some local guy. It was all just under the power line, so anyone could go riding there.
Yeah.
And it started getting really big when I started getting better. And then people started getting hurt, so he just fenced it off, put a gate on it. So it was like Crown Land, and he just fenced it off, and this was our track. Yeah. So away we go.
Yeah, things you can't get away with nowadays.
Oh man, imagine doing it now.
Imagine doing that now. Yeah, crazy. But I mean, that's the good old days, man. Yeah,
that's it. Yes,
that's it. Yeah. No, that's because like a lot of kids, back in the day, you can practice everything out the bush just about it, except for jumps, man. Unless
pretty well, yes.
You can't. There's only so much you can make with a shovel, So
So he had a
natural terrain. Yeah,
he would build a full blown supercross track, and then under one power line, and then under the other power line was the motocross track.
Yeah.
So I had the supercross track here, motocross track here. No, never a watering system or anything like that. He would just fix it when it rained, so it'd pack in better.
Yeah.
But the motocross track, I graded actually, he made me drive his backhoe to grade the motocross track in because he wanted me to learn how to drive it, and I hated it anyway. But anyway, I had to build a motocross track so I could practice. And it was 2 months before I went to Loretta Lynn's in '92, so I was 14. So I started riding out in '92. And I finished riding on that same track in 2010.
Yeah, that's
under the power lines, and it was never been prepped or fixed. It was just It was the shittiest track ever, but it was very. It created good skills and good, good vision and learning new lines. And because it was a bush track and so many people rode there, and it never got fixed. There was water ruts and there was rocks and there was little tree roots, and it was just. It was a really shitty track, but it taught you more than you realised. And there was times when I kind of thought, I need to get away from that and go to better tracks. And then my riding dropped a little bit, so I'd always go back to it. Every time, I could be like, man, I need to get back to that track because it's shit. It makes me better. As much as it was not fun, but I just knew if I rode there, I was confident.
I wonder if there's anything left of that track under them power lines, because
the Supercross track's all been knocked down, but we had a motocross track, and it's right on the Newcastle Sydney freeway, and it's both sides of the freeway. We had a track that we made in '92 on one side, and then the other track on the other side of the freeway was built at the end of '96, start of '97. The one on the one built in '97, we only stopped riding there in '08 because we rode there a lot when it was raining, and it just blew it out and made it. It was on the side of a real steep hill, so it just washed it out really bad. So we just couldn't ride there anymore. But the other one, we only all the way up till 2010. So.
Yeah. It's interesting. Yeah. See, can you see it when you're driving?
You can still see a little bits of it. The two up and down on the under the power lines. You can still see it from the side of the freeway. Yeah. Yeah. Every time I drive past it, I always have a look.
Bet. That's what I was getting at. Yeah, you drive past and have a look and see what's going on. Yeah. Really, really cool, man. I love stories like that, man. Yeah. Your early number, man, the 63. Any story behind the 63?
My first ever number that I got was 632.
Okay.
And my dad was like, man, there's too many numbers that fit on this little plate. So he just asked, could we take the 2 off? And that's how 63 came about. And that's what the number I had pretty well my whole junior career.
Yeah.
And until I went to the junior Aussies, and we had to run a 7 number, and my number was 747.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, but 63. So it was 632, and we just took the 2 off.
Because even like early pro stuff was 63. You were still 63?
My first couple of years in pro was 95, 94, 95, 96 was number 63.
Yeah.
But then at the end of 96, they made us run the number that we earned from the year before, so I had to change it from 63 to then. But my first 2 years was 63. So yeah. Cool.
That's the go. Yeah, it's just one I remember. Yeah. That's it. I should have got you on. This is episode 68. I should have got you on 5 episodes
63.
earlier. Huh? Should have. Yeah. I never thought of that. But should have. But too late now, though. Hey. We might move on into that. So, through your juniors, and then riding for Leesky on KTM, was that your first? That was your first big bike gig,
It was my first big bike gig, yeah. I know it was going to be, so Jeff Lees took over KTM racing team in end of 94.
Yeah.
And I think his riders, so I think we went to Perth in 94 for the last round of the motocross championship. And it was my first year as in the seniors. And I rode both bikes for the first year, 125 and 250, which was kind of crazy, but I needed to do it to, just because I needed to learn. And Joel Elliott and I had a really gnarly race. The second moto in Coastal, I whole shot, he was second. And we just battled for the whole 20 plus one. He would pass me, I'd pass him. I reckon that probably the lead would have changed maybe 10 or 15 times. I ended up getting the moto win. And I think that Jeff Least was the promoter of that day, of that round. So I think he's seen Joel and I, and originally I'm pretty sure it was going to be Joel and I as the team. That was what the talk was going to be. And then Joel passed away like 2 weeks later, maybe, because it was Coastal, then we done Adelaide Indoor, and then he went to America to test for NCY Yamaha, and he died on that trip. So that was obviously a bit of a downer. It was a pretty big thing because Joel and I, we grew up racing from 60s all the way through. So us battling, he was a little bit older than me, and he was always a bit faster, but we would battle. And this time I got the upper hand on him in one moto. The third moto, he kind of handed me ass to me. So he got the overall and I was second on the day. But if that was going to be the team, it would have been him and I. And then that happened to him. And then I heard Peter Melton was in the talks there somewhere. And then that got shafted, got back on the back burner. Then Paul Grant was my teammate. So that's how it all worked out. That's what the story I was told. So yeah, Jeff Lees pretty well moved from Perth to Newcastle and took me under his wing and pretty well taught me everything he knew. And yeah, just rolled me, just done everything that I just taught me the ropes and that feeling of winning, losing. And I remember we goes to Coastal in 95 and I just had a really bad racing man jump the week before. And he was pretty pissed at how shitty I was riding and I wasn't fit enough and I wasn't this and I wasn't that. And he's giving it to me. And he's like, I'm entering next weekend. I'm going to race. And I'm like, really? And I thought he was bullshitting. And he fills his entry out, sends it in. So he's going to do Coastal, right? And I'm like, all right, we goes practicing through the weekend. I'm thinking he's just taking the piss. He's going to go ride with me a couple of times and make me feel like I'm, that he's going to ride and then not do it. And he did. He rocked up and he's like, I'm going to kick your ass today. And I'm like, no, this can't happen. And first moto, I got my first ever podium. I was second behind, I think Tim Askenazi was the leader. He won that moto. So I got second in the moto. I was pretty pumped. Well, Leesky got 10th. He ended up crashing and he got 10th. So I'm thinking, he's got nothing. So I was pumped, that I got second. He got 10th in the second moto. I was going okay. I think I was maybe fourth or fifth, and I ended up crashing. And I got 10th, and he got second. So he went 10-2, and I went 2-10, and he beat me on a count back. And we had to go pick our prize money up at the end of the day. And he goes, would you like my check? Jeremy, check up your ass.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Hey, do you remember a KTM 500 rider from in Perth back in those days called Sean Bartholomew?
I've heard of that name.
Yeah, he remembers you. He's a mate of mine. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I have heard of him. Yes.
Yeah.
Thumping out states.
He would have done plenty of that sort of stuff. Yeah, but I know he rode. I'm not sure if he was on Jeff's the actual KTM team, but I think he was supported by Leesky.
From that, like he rode sort of thing.
He rode 500s in WA. Yeah,
right.
Around that time, and he's spoken about you a few times. Yeah. He's still actually. I dragged him out to a motocross track for the first time in 10 years last year. So there you go.
He would have been sore for a few days after that.
He wasn't. He wasn't too bad. He was okay, or maybe he was making out he was, but he wasn't too bad.
It's pretty. Normally, the Monday after a day when you don't ride much is pretty slow.
Yeah, I didn't see him on Monday, but Sunday when he left that, he wasn't looking too bad.
Yes, yep.
Good stuff. And then after your KTM, so that was that Europe or no? Bit of CDR before Europe.
I went CDR. So my last year as juniors, I was Yamaha. First year of seniors, I was Yamaha. Then KTM for 3 years, so 95, 96, 97.
Yeah.
And then I was at CDR first, 98, 99. And then back at KTM for 3 years, 2000, 2001, 2002.
Yeah.
But 2 years at Dakar's. But I signed my contract with Dakar at the end of 97. And the first race I'd done, which was the Coffs Harbour Supercross, I crashed and ruptured blew my ACL out. But because I just signed with Dakar, I was like, I needed to ride for the year. So I rode the whole year with a busted knee. It actually turned out to be one of the best years I ever had, but it was a lot of rehab, a lot of worrying about my knee. Then I went to Germany and raced the Supercross over there. And then I thought my knee was okay. And then when we started 99 Supercross season, the third race in practice in Brisbane, I overjumped this rhythm section. I landed right in the pocket and it hyperextended my knee real bad in the knee brace, and it just locked itself out. It must have done that last bit of damage that can cause lock it out and then knee reconstruction. So 99 was pretty well done.
Yeah. That when you were doing the German stuff, so you were riding. So that's when you're riding for Craig here. Were you getting a Yamaha over there, or did you have to ride something different, or?
No, I was riding Yamaha. The first year I went to Germany, I was riding Red Bull Yamaha.
Okay. Yeah.
So Red Bull Yamaha, and I would just take my own suspension,
Oh
handlebars,
yeah.
and triple clamps and stuff like that. And then
Yeah.
just get a bike over there.
Yeah.
And then the next year I went. So that was the ride at the start of '98, and then I went back for 98. It was over Christmas season, so it's a 98, 99 season. And I rode so Red Bull Yamaha. Then when I went back for the 99, 2000 season, it was Red Bull KTM then. So then I would ride KTM.
Oh yeah.
It was that transition from when it was Red Bull Yamaha, and then it went to Red Bull KTM.
Yeah. So you're right on the ground floor for Red Bull KTM then, which is still a thing.
Yeah. Well, I've still got the plastics off my bike from that year,
Cool.
and that was full hand painted. The whole bike was painted from orange. It was painted blue.
Yeah.
And it would every race they would bring new plastics and new paint job because it would just flake off. And
that's so they'll paint them.
Orange, so.
Yeah. I've got I know I've got a crazy amount of pictures and stuff. Pictures.
Yeah.
I'm a bit of a historian. Yeah, I've got a good picture of that bike somewhere tucked away.
Right, yeah. It's funny. I love looking at all the old stuff. Like I still go back through all the old, not so much through the old videos, but the photos and just remember, the old school. Like I try to watch like the European stuff of the '80s, and and Leesky was there, and then Dave Thorpe and Gabors and Billy Lyles, Kurt Nickel, and all them guys, and then you go to the American stuff. You got Ricky Johnson and Lachine and Ward and all the old school guys, and you just look at it and go, man, that was like a badass era. The tracks were rough, the bikes were like crazy, and I still enjoy watching all the old stuff.
Yeah, I love it. I can't get enough of it. Like I'm more likely, like people say, have you seen this movie? Have you seen that movie? I'm like, nah. No. I haven't.
But we knew what happened in Mr. Motocross in 1987.
Yeah, that's right. But there's not many moto things available on YouTube that I haven't watched several times. So.
Yeah, I had a video when I was real young when I first started racing. It was the Mr. Motocross series of 1987.
Okay, yeah.
So it was on 5 riders. It was Craig Dack, Glenn Bell, Dave Armstrong, Jimmy Ellis, Dean Burt, and maybe it was like Steve Dinsdale, maybe.
Okay, yeah.
And I just watched it every day. I'll get out of bed and I just watched it. And even when the song was on there, Orange Crush is one of the songs on it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And every time it comes on the radio, I'm like, 1987 Mr. Motocross video, and I'd watch it every day. And I just, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
The old VHS, put it in the recorder.
That is cool. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. There's some pretty good. There's been I can't remember. It's probably Roscoe actually who's probably put them up there. There's a lot of good, some good Mr. Motocross videos and that up there. Yeah. There's even there's a pretty good one on YouTube of when Goof won, that's 83.
83. Yeah.
When Goof won, there's a good.
I have a DVD of that year, of that whole season. It's pretty special. Yeah.
And Neil Crompton's on the mic,
yes.
And he's like super young, and before he did any, there's a lot of. I've said that to a lot of young people, like that they like the V8 supercars now. I say, where Crompton started on the microphone.
Also, like Lee Diffie started with the Supercross.
True, yeah. I've told my American friends that they'll be like, they'll go crook about, no matter who's commentating, they're always picking on him, and they'll go crook about Lee because he's got an Aussie accent and all that. But I've said to him, like, that guy was cool. He was like doing, he was like calling live announcing Supercross Masters, like when you guys before you guys were born, to some of these young ones. Like he was he was right into it. So he's very old school. He certainly knows his stuff. There's some good photos of him actually of Diffie.
Yes,
there at the podium and stuff. Yeah,
Supercross Masters stuff, 98, 97, 98 or something. He goes on Channel 10, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah, it is. It is cool, man. Yeah. Really, really cool. And your first title, was that on the KTM or was that with Dakar? Your first.
No, it was with Jeff Leesk in '97.
It was in
Um,
97. Yeah.
'97, I won 3 of the 4 championships.
Yeah.
Won the motocross championship, Supercross Masters championship, and the Thumpernats championship. And I
Yeah.
was 6th in Supercross.
Yeah.
And then 98 with Dakar was all 4. But I
Yeah.
missed out in '96. It still eats me to this day because Leeski would always tell me you just need to finish at all costs. Just even if you're just riding around to get that 1 point, it's what you need to do. And I remember I was leading the Supercross Championship in '96, and Peter Melton was behind me, and I crashed in Adelaide and hurt my arm. But I ended up getting back up, and I started circulating. My arm was really sore, and I pulled out of the race, thinking, I'm last place. I'm 20. I'm only going to get 1 point. My arm's really sore. I'm just riding around. So I pulled out.
Mm.
I end up losing that Supercross Championship by 1 point.
Yeah.
So
There's a lot of these stories, man. There's a lot of these stories.
yeah, it eats me. And I even to the day, I tell kids that I coach, just always finish, always get up and go to the end, because the feeling that you get if you lose by 1 point is like, it eats you. And to lose that championship, it would have been my first championship at 18. Which not a lot of people have done that, and it would have been pretty cool, but wasn't to be. Definitely learn a lesson. And Peter Melton won all 3 championships that year, so it was pretty cool to race against guys like that, because I was racing against Leeski that year in '96. He done the motocross championship. Peter Melton, Lee Hogan, Cameron Taylor. It was a pretty impressive lineup.
Yeah, cool. That's it. Yeah, there's a good photo of you. I think it's from '96 on the at the Newcastle Supercross on the KTM at the home race there. There's a pretty
Hogs and
good
I
photo.
had a battle for
Yeah.
20 laps that night. He passed me, I'm going to say maybe lap 3, and I hunted him. I just kept hanging in there, and we started getting into lappers, and we end up getting really close. Then he'd pull away, and I'd catch him again, and with a couple, maybe the last lap, I think I put a pass on. Exactly the same place I passed him back that he passed me on lap 3.
Okay, yeah.
But the battle we had was crazy. It was something that I learnt crazy from, because I'd never done a 20-lap final like that. And if you've ever been to Newcastle Supercross, it's like riding on concrete. No ruts, no anything. It's just really hard pack, and it's a fairly decent length. And it's always builds big jumps. So to ride 20 laps under the pump, and Hogs and I went at it, it was a really, really good confidence booster for me.
Yeah. Awesome. Was that maybe one of your biggest or one of your early sort of hometown home crowd wins?
It was my very first Supercross Masters win ever.
Well, okay, yeah.
I ended up the year before in '95. I was leading Brisbane Supercross right up until a lap and a half to go, and I crashed and got 3rd. And then the Sydney Indoor that same year, '95, I was 3rd again. And then we went to Perth, and we done a big Supercross race over there. And the Hogs didn't go, but a couple other guys like Paul Malin was there, Shane King. I think there's a couple other pro guys that were there, and I ended up winning that round. But it wasn't a Supercross Masters, and it wasn't a full field to say, with everyone. So I was rolling into '96, coming off 2 podiums and winning that one race in Perth. Kind of confident that I think I can do well. I was riding good. I felt good. The bike was good. And then it was one of those hometown race. The race got cancelled on the Saturday night because it had a massive storm and lightning. So they shut the race down, and we come back Sunday. Okay. So it was when everyone was there, and it was like that give me that sort of confidence to go, hey, hang on, I can run with these top guys, I can beat them. So I rolled into that after that race with a lot more confidence, and I guess I was more in people's faces too, you know, of winning one race. So that was a really, really good thing for me.
Yeah, cool. The German supercrosses. Did you enjoy that? And did you make some money out of that? Like, was it good paying over there?
Really, really, really good. It was great. So the first year I'd done it was the first time they'd really done like a full championship, and it was 10 rounds. And you'd won a car for the overall first place, which was a Porsche Boxster.
Yeah.
Kind of stuffed it really. I was going into the last what was it, 3 nights at Dortmund, and so the last 5 rounds I was going in with a 13-point lead, and I left the Dortmund race, the first 3 rounds when we went back after Christmas. I was going into that round with 13 points, and I left that with 10 points behind.
Ah.
So I really, really jacked it up. And then we went to Kiel for the last 2 rounds, and I went 1-1. But the guy that would end up winning, Kovalainen, and he ended up going 2-2 or something like that. So
Yeah.
he won the championship, and I was second. I think for the series, for the 10 rounds, I'm pretty sure maybe 65,000 for the 10. So it was all cash money back then. So you just roll in with 1,000-mark notes, and so it was decent money for the. I was only there for 2 months, 3 months at max. And then the next year I didn't do as good, but I ended up finishing 4th the second year.
Yeah, it would have been hard to bring a Porsche home from Germany anyway, wouldn't it? That would have cost you 60 grand to ship it home.
I know, but I had it in my mind. I'm going to win a Porsche Boxster, you know. Like I was probably too confident, being young and stupid. And the night that really stuffed it was the first night at Dortmund. I was running second behind Kovalainen, and I really just had to ride around in second that night, and you know, and I tried to go for the jugular and take him out first lap, and we both hit, and he's like 6'3" or something, and when we hit, it just blew me hand off the handlebars, and I ended up crashing. So instead of just sitting in second place and just getting the points, I try to go for the win. And as a young guy does, you always go for the win, and sometimes it works and sometimes it don't.
Yeah. Did you do any other sort of any other races in Europe while you're over there? Like, did you do any like crazy beach races or anything like that?
No, never done anything crazy like that. I've done an international motocross race in Villars in France one year. Done Paris-Bercy a couple of times. Exeter Supercross in England, and then Arnhem. I race in Holland. But we've done a lot of like roller riding in Italy with KTM factory to R&D and testing and stuff. Yeah. But then just all over racing all over Germany really. So it was pretty cool, because we would go to it was always in the winter, so you didn't really go practicing, but there was this place in East Germany where we'd go. It was like one Supercross indoor. It was like 25 seconds a lap, and all the big jumps are in the middle of the shed, we'll say. And you would do the big jumps in the middle, and down the outsides, all the jumps are real low, like the whoops and everything were down the outside of the shed because the roof was too low. And we would go practice there, but only a couple of times. But we'd always do, we would go to England and do a 2-night race, and then we'd come back and we'd go to Holland and do a 2-night race. And Paris-Bercy was always 3 nights, and then Dortmund was 3 nights. So we always raced most weekends. But there was a couple of times when I stayed over Christmas and we just hung out. But most of the time it was always like you would go all of November, half of December, and then you come home, and then you come back New Year's Eve. I would always fly back and then do all the races to finish like in January.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Would have been a fun time though. It's pretty cool, like,
Well, it's good. I got to stay and work with Hendrik Nolting, which was Shane King's mechanic when he was world champion. So we stayed at his house. We got to travel with him, so we'd go in his van and we would just travel to all the races. So that was pretty cool because he was such a knowledgeable guy, and my bike was always good. We just worked really, really well together. And I learned a lot from him, from just bike setup and understanding what needed to be better. So.
Mm. When you were, switching these couple of times between the Yamaha and the KTM, was that tough? Because and I only know from being told, because I never had KTMs of that old, but that they were quite a bit different. They still had that real sort of European different sort of feel to a Japanese bike. Was that a difficult transition back then?
I think it was, but I was very. I think growing up, I never had the best bikes, and they never handled great. They were never the best power, but my old man would be like, "This is your bike. You got to ride it, and you got to get used to it, and this is what you have." So I think that mindset helped me with riding KTM. Is okay, it's different. I'll adapt to this now, So it was my 95 Supercross bike was the same bike I rode 95, 96, and 97. But halfway through, so the start of 97, KTM Leesky got a lot of help from the factory. We had different engines and fork, like different conventional. Remember the old conventional forks?
Yeah, they went back to the conventional.
We got back to them. And so for the first few races of 97, I was riding a whole different bike. And I really hate it. I really couldn't gel with it. I struggled really bad. And I didn't really help my cause, because at the end of 96, I went and bought a jet ski, and I was going jet skiing and I was training, So I didn't help me cause. So I wasn't fit enough to start with. So that didn't help me cause. But I bitched and whinged and said the bike wasn't really good. I said I couldn't ride it. And then it got to a point where I think the first 5 races I rode this bike, and I was bitching. I was like, I hated it. I didn't like riding it. And I kept whinging. And then Leesky said, all right, and I said, I just want my last couple of years race bike. Can I have that? If I can have that, I can win. He's like, nah, we're getting help from KTM. And I just kept bitching. And he got to a point, he goes, all right, I'm going to give you can ride this bike, but if you don't win your first race back, you've got to continue riding the 97. I'm like, I'll be fine. You give me the old bike and I'll win. I think I won 8 races in a row straight away as soon as I got the old one. So I helped my cause a little bit, but
that'll do it.
The bike it wasn't a shit heap, but it didn't have the power where I rode it, and the handling had conventional forks, and me growing up on upside down forks, I didn't like the feeling. I didn't like that flex feeling. So to get the old bike back and start winning again I backed myself, which was pretty tough at the time, because I was getting my ass handed to me by Ashkenazi and Peter Melton and Lee Hogan, Cameron Taylor, and it was a big call to put it on the line.
Yeah, awesome. Before we move into heading to America, man, who was your biggest rival in that first stint in Australia? Who was the big rival?
Hogs
hard to say.
Hogs was always hard to beat. Like,
Hogs
on a good day, he was tough. But there's Ashkenazi. There was so many that were all could win. There was Ashkenazi, Cameron Taylor, Hogs, Darryl Hurley, Andrew McFarlane, Peter Melton. Troy Doran there a couple of times. There was always so many guys that could do really well. So I would have to nearly say all of them were really tough. The one that always would get me, would be probably McFarlane, but we grew up racing together. So he knew my strengths, I knew he knew my weaknesses, I knew his. So McFarlane was always really tough, and every time he did beat me, he would rub it in. But then vice versa, every time I beat him, I would rub it in. But yeah, I mean, there was so many different kind of races. I remember Manjimup 98 with Hogs. I rode the 400. He rode the 360. We won a couple of motos each, and he ended up getting the overall. So Hogs on a good day, he was really hard to beat. With Ashkenazi, he was always going to be tough because he was fit, he was strong. He just had that dog in him that he could just go the whole time. But then, there were so many guys that could do really well. So I wouldn't really pinpoint at one guy. There was so many. On my
Yeah,
very
yeah.
first indoor that I ever qualified for, it was a promoter's choice runoff, and it was Sydney Indoor in '95 when I rode the big bike. It was a 3-lap runoff with me, Ashkenazi, and Lee Hogan. 3 riders for
Yeah,
last spot on the gate, and both former champions, and
yeah.
both a bit older than me, and I was the new little guy, and to get that one up on them, I was crapping myself, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah. There's been a lot of cool things like that over the years with Aussie Supercross. Like I like things like that. It's yeah, some good memories of this, of watching some fun stuff like that. Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
our indoors back then was only 8 riders off the start, so
yeah,
there was kind of 10 riders that could win a race. There's only 8 allowed on the start.
yeah.
So it was pretty cutthroat, and it definitely taught us racecraft and how to be racers, really.
Yeah, that's like the Adelaide round they did last year was the throwback
Oh,
to
the
that,
indoor, yeah, yes,
and
yeah.
and I know a lot of the younger ones were sort of did pretty down on it and that,
This is pretty shit.
and I sympathised with, because I had like a mate who he missed the main because of them, that
Yeah.
otherwise normal gate he would have been in, and that sort of thing. And I sort of get a few things like that, but I thought it was cool because it was just sort of throwback, like
It
this
was
is
pretty
what it
cool to
used to be
see.
like. It was cool.
To
So
watch it on TV, and yeah, it was awesome.
yeah, 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 absolutely. All those sort of things, the expression sessions and all this sort of stuff.
Well, that was my introduction when I was 12 years old at Supercross in Melbourne.
Yeah,
So Denny Ham's dad talked to Phil Christensen and tried to make something happen and put an 85 guy in the expression session. And it was going to happen. Denny Ham was going to do it, but it worked out that I was the only 85 that could jump the finish line tabletop. So
yeah,
I was the kid that had to do it.
yeah,
So that's how I had got the start in, being in Supercross, and so, doing the whip and whatever and winning the
yeah,
express session. And that's how I guess my name threw it out there to a lot of people, is because I was that crazy kid that just sent it, just had a crack.
yeah, yeah. What year was
Yeah.
that? I was probably there.
1990.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I went to
91, sorry. 91, I think.
went to
91.
a few all around that sort of era there. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
91.
I might have been there. Yeah, yeah. Excellent. Excellent, good stuff. Actually, and one more thing before we move into talking about when you went to America, Thumper Nats, man. Yeah, what's you got some favorite memories from Thumper Nats? What a great thing! And I know some of my international listeners will be thinking, what the hell is Thumper Nats? But yeah, it was awesome. It was basically easiest way to put it. It was basically grass track racing, or natural terrain racing, 4 strokes before 4 strokes were the dominant thing. When 4 strokes were novelties. So.
But it was the best racing. It
Yeah, it
created.
was. Yeah,
There
yeah,
were so many riders, right from vet riders to twin shock riders to clubman guys. Like it was just the atmosphere was so cool, and the spectators there was crazy amount. It was only 3 15-minute races, so it was kind of an easy day, but the roost hurt like shit off the 4 strokes back then.
yeah.
But best series, really, you'd rock up there Saturday, and they would bump the track off. So you would start Sunday morning with a clean slate, like full grass.
Yeah.
And they would water the crap out of the grass all day Saturday and all Saturday night, and it'd be slippery, and like grass would be on a Sunday morning, especially in winter. But then it would build big grass berms, and the racecraft, you needed to ride them tracks fast because they got so choppy and so rough, and they were so fast. It just teaches that element of flat corners and grass berms and trying to get over square edge bumps that there was there was millions of them, because you had right from a pro level rider to a clubman rider. So the bumps are all different sizes,
yeah.
Different spaces apart. And, the places you'd go to was, on the side of a mountain, and it was just crazy fun, and the just like the atmosphere of it was great, it was just a really good series. That was a shame to have it go missing. One year at Geelong, we got clocked at 140 k's an hour over the skyline, straight, and it was, the straightaway would have been, no joke, like 20 meters wide. Like they bunted it that wide. It was crazy. And the straight was that long that the middle half, like the middle of the straight, so you come out of like a grass berm up over a hill, and it was really choppy and bumpy and back to dirt. And then because you'd be like top gear, wide open, just sitting there holding the thing flat out, no wheel spin, no off, just right along the grass. So there was grass on the middle of the straight the whole day. And then you'd start, at the end of that, you'd start braking and it'd go back to dirt. And the roost would be just like this crazy out the back of the 4-strokes, big, big massive soft tire treads, and the roost used to, like, you could feel it. I could nearly slow the bike down when you went through it. And then just how long the tracks were. They were big, long tracks and fast. It was good. It was good. Awesome fun.
Yeah. Fantastic. And it's, like, it's those sort of events are so hard to run nowadays. Like, at a small scale, like there's a grass track series that runs in Vic here, and it, like, you got to be really fast to get an entry in. It sells out quick.
Yeah, and then you miss out. Yeah, and
everybody wants to do the grass track series.
Grass track, yeah, it was always good fun. I remember we'd go to some tracks. I remember one we went to Albury, and it rained that bad that all the trucks parked on the road, blocked the road off, and we all pitted on the road, and then rode up through the paddock to the start line, and then you'd done your race, you rode back out onto the road. Then you go to Picton Picton, which was another pretty awesome track. Geelong was amazing. Conondale was always great. Just the tracks that you went to and the venues were pretty spectacular, with just grass hills, and the farmers. It's like, it'd be like us turning up to a golf course right now and going, let's have a crack. It was kind of like that. And it was pretty cool how the farmers, one allowed it. But the vision from the people that started it, Jeff Ballard and all the ADB guys and all them kind of that crew, that older crew that started it all, is pretty good vision. So
yeah, it's a really cool chapter, man. Really, really cool chapter of Aussie moto. Yeah, no, I guess like Conondale's probably the last thing left, like that. That style of track that we have, really, isn't it? Maybe sort of, since probably Barrabull's gone and all that, like it's really just Conondale now that's got that vibe about it,
that old school. Yeah, it was and even Conondale with the Drunks Hill in the middle, and it's funny how there's so many spectators would go and hang out there, and because it wasn't so crazy professional, it was a fun day, so everyone be having beers on the hill, and it was, everyone was getting on, everyone's having a laugh. And then, when it becomes a bit more professional and a bit more serious, then the fun starts going away. So it makes it a bit tougher.
Yeah. I went to the Conondale, the Battle in the Bush and 125 Cup there, probably 3 years ago now, I think. Yeah. And that's a cool event, like they do the run and race in your motocross in full gear for gate pick and all that sort of thing.
I would definitely get last gate pick because I suck at running. So.
Yeah, and they have a bit of rut limbo and stuff like that, and then the racing and all that on the Sunday and all that. It was cool event, man. And it sort of got there, and there's most of the track was still grass,
still grass. Yes,
I was walking around taking photos and videos and stuff. I'm just like, oh man, like I so got to ride this track one day. And like I'm a C grader, man. Like I always, this is how much I love riding. is I'm 48 and I'm still a C grader. So
Yeah,
usually
yeah.
people that are that bad, usually the people that are that bad at something, they give up. But that's shows my love for it.
It's one of those things, dirt bikes. It's that feeling that you get just going riding, and whether you're a pro, a weekend guy, a guy just wants to have a ride on any bike, that feeling that you get is like, it scares the shit out of you. It excites you. You crash, you get up, you go again, and you go home sore, and then you still want to do it the next weekend.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
It's a pretty special sport, and it's a challenge right from whatever level you are.
Yeah, man. Yeah, like it is. It's amazing. I still challenge myself. Nowadays I'm still challenging myself to do things just a little bit better than I did last time.
It is,
So,
and that's what keeps you coming back. And that's what we
yeah,
always. And that's why I think when you're at a pro level, sometimes you forget what you started, why you started. We started riding because it was fun. We started riding because it was scary, but it excited you have a crack. And then as you get higher level, or you go as a pro, whatever, you lose sight of that a little bit, and you sometimes need to go do the littler races, or go practice at that ride park just to have a ride and have a fun day to recharge and to go again. Because it doesn't matter if you are a weekend guy or a pro guy, the fun of just riding is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you let that clutch out, man, and all your problems get let out with it. That's what I say.
Well, actually, you're pretty all right there, because I always say there's only two places where you can be 100% by yourself and no one can talk to you, which is riding and swimming laps up and down the pool.
Yeah, true, yeah.
You're by yourself, and you do, when you start riding, all the problems that you thought you had, they're not there anymore.
Yeah, they're just all gone.
It's like, holy shit, here we go.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Righto, it's time for an ad read. Guts Racing, Greg's Ultra Trick Seats. Check out this t-shirt. I've got my Guts Racing t-shirt on today. Look at that. Hey, gutsracing.com. That's a really easy website to remember, gutsracing.com, as used by CDR Yamaha, hey, out there. And I reckon as used by, probably 3/4 of the Aussie Pro pits, to be honest. There's a lot of Guts seat covers getting around, a lot of Guts products getting around the Aussie Pro pits. And of course, like I always say, Phil Nicoletti, Malcolm Stewart, Ken Roxon, all out there this year on Guts Eats, as well as my guy, my privateer hero, Scott Meshy. He's the man who says they are a butt gripper and they will make you a ripper. And they will. You can obviously get seat covers. You can get complete seats. You can get custom seats with bumps, with wide wings. You can get a huge range of colors. If you can think of a color, they probably have it. They will have it. You can get ballistic material down the sides. If you're a knee brace guy that's really hard on the sides of your seat, you can get the ballistic material added. You can even get a Velcro fitment seat cover. If you do tackle the fitment of your seat cover the traditional way with a staple gun, your seat cover will come with a QR code that will, you scan that, it will take you to a video where the man himself, Andy Gregg, will be there actually showing you how to best install that seat cover. That's pretty cool. I'm speaking from experience too. I actually used the QR code not long ago when I put the new cover on my Yamaha. And speaking of Yamahas, if you have a 4-stroke Yamaha with the tank cap cover, you actually get a little cover to go on the tank cap cover that matches your seat cover. So yeah, just there's just another example of why Guts is the company for seats worldwide. Worldwide, Kite a Wolf. There you go, all across the world. So Europe, Australia, everywhere. They're just winning. Cool. Let's get back. I'll drop that. I better drop the website one more time because it is easy to remember. Gutsracing.com. It's really easy to remember, isn't it? Gutsracing.com. Okay. Let's get back to Ando and get into some more bench racing with a Aussie Legend. Cheers. Yeah, let's move into America, man. So I think the story goes that you got spotted you got spotted in Germany. Is that right? That's or something.
I think it
Yeah.
was a little bit of both. I nearly went to Europe in '01 with a German Husqvarna team.
Yep.
But right when I was just about to sign the deal, the team folded, so it kind of didn't happen.
Yeah.
So I already had a deal here with Jeff Leask with KTM, so I was still happy to be here. So that was a bit of a downer. But then in 2002, I had a ride to finish the year off with Suzuki, but with respect, Jeff Leask wouldn't let me out of my contract, and now to look back on it, I wouldn't have let myself out of the contract. If it was the other way around, if I was Jeff Leask and I was having a rider, I was winning all three championships that year, and for Leask to let me go halfway through the year to fill a factory ride in America was probably never going to happen. But at the time, I was kind of pissed, thinking I was going to that next level, and I was scared that if I didn't take that opportunity, I wouldn't get it again.
Yeah.
And then. So that fell away, and I didn't have a ride. But I kept talking to Roger DaCosta about Suzuki for the 2003 season, and I ended up getting a deal, letter of intent. It was all happening, but it was only a 1-year deal. And then I was lucky enough that Craig Dack was the team manager at Yamaha Troy in 2003, and he offered me a 2-year deal. So I'm not a risk kind of person. If I had my time over again, I probably would have went with Roger instead of going Yamaha Troy, because I felt I was probably a big bike rider, not a lights rider, like a little bike rider. So if I had my time, I probably would have went Suzuki, and just winged it for that 1-year deal and just put everything I had into it. But me being probably not a big risk taker, I took the easy option and took a 2-year deal with Yamaha Troy. Even though it didn't work out at the end, I ended up getting let go for at the end of '03. So I had to go to another team for '04 anyway. So it was just a learning experience.
'04 was Honda.
Was Honda, yes. So it was a start of a 6-year partnership with Honda. So I had 1 year in America and 5 years here, which was pretty cool. But yeah, just winning Southwick, I guess, my first year, second at Steel City, was pretty cool. Finished the 7th in the championship. I thought I would have done better the next year, but I got hurt right at really shitty times. I got hurt 2 weeks before the first Anaheim race in '04. And then I didn't end up riding the first round, and then I got me shit back together, and I ended up finishing 9th at Vegas at the end of Supercross. And then halfway through motocross, I got landed on again and got hurt again, and I was getting to a point where I was like, it's getting, I'm getting older. The bike I'm riding is probably not as good as the factory bikes, so I decided to come home.
Yeah, and then sort of a led you up to your last championship on the Honda.
Yeah, but my first year over there, my very first Supercross ever, I got 9th, so that was pretty cool. I thought, first Supercross ever, 9th. Then I went 6th. Then the bike blew up, and then I blew up a couple more bikes at the test track, and then I crashed and got 17th, and then I crashed and got hurt real bad and ruptured my spleen. So that was my very first Supercross season. Of doing a top 10, a 6th, a bike stopped, so it blew up in the qualifying race, and then I was actually riding really good at San Francisco. I got 3rd in the heat race, and I was doing really good in the main, and just crashed, just a stupid mistake. And then the next week I got hurt, so I only done a few Supercrosses that first year, and then I started riding 2 weeks before the motocross championship started. So, to just go my first ever national in America, Glen Helen, which I don't know if everyone would have seen the whole shot.
It's a great photo, man. It's a great photo.
It's a pretty cool photo, but that's a funny story because I went from 1st to 29th in that moto. I reversed my way through the field quite good. It's really, I just wasn't ready. I only been riding 2 weeks before that. So I whole shot the race and went from 1st to 29th. I ended up crashing at the end, but I was on my way back anyway. And then the funny story is the second moto, I'm like, man, I'm going to start on gate 40, right away from everyone, and maybe I'll get like a 30th place start, and I might be able to come back to 20th and make myself feel better that I went forward instead of
Yeah,
backward.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I freaked whole shot again and went from first to 23rd. So my first ever national, I really cooked it and stuffed it, and you can get any points.
yeah,
And then rounds after that, I think I was in the top 10 for the rest of the year, most races,
yeah,
with a win at Southwick and a podium at Steel City. So yeah,
yeah,
I always have a laugh about
yeah.
the first round. A bit funny, to get 2 whole shots and go that far back.
Yeah, yeah. Great photo, man. That's a yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know who
crack up.
took that photo, but yeah, are you got that one in a frame?
No, the guy that took it, he ended up passing away. It was Steve Braun. Um,
Okay.
he ended up taking it, but I've never ever had it in a big photo. I've only got the little one.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, I didn't realise it was that good until I'd seen it come out of a magazine. When I got in after the race, and I'm like, oh, that whole shot was killer, and I'm like, oh, no. I didn't feel it was that far, but I was gone. I was way out in front. Yeah, off the concrete too, because most starts back then were all mostly concrete, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah. Glen Helen leans itself to some really good photos too. Some really,
It's a
yeah,
pretty crazy place, Glen Helen, with the hills, and
yeah,
you go
yeah,
practicing there through the week, and it's nothing like a national. It's hard pack, it's square edge, dusty, it's windy. It's a crazy place, and there's like 3,000 people trying to ride on the one track. There's quads, there's kids, there's pro guys. It's crazy.
It is a crazy place, man. Yeah, that's for sure. I know they. Yeah, it's not. It's a bit of a free for all, with
It
who's
is.
allowed on the track and that sort of thing. It's an eye opener when you're used to like Aussie tracks where it's like, you know, only seniors at the moment, and
Yeah,
then
it's like
and then
in
only
it's just
juniors, and
everyone just goes. Yeah.
over there it's just everyone gone. Like
Yep.
you imagine an Aussie track letting a quad out there with a kid on a
Exactly, on
P-Wheel,
85 or
like it's just
60. Yeah.
never gonna happen, man. Like
Well, when I went there in '92, when I was going to race Loretta's and Ponca, we went practicing at Glen Helen. And I was riding an 85 or 80 at the time, and I was going up towards where the first corner is. The track used to go that way, and it'd go up the hill, basically right up past the first turn and turn around and come back off. This year it was that track, and
yeah.
I was cruising up the hill on my 85, 80, and it was just this right at the last minute. There was this guy on a CR500 just haul ass past me. Like it actually scared the shit out of me. I wasn't even ready for it. Turns out it was Mickey Diamond. And I was just, one of those kids. It's like, that's Mickey Diamond, like he just
Yeah,
scared the shit out of me. Because I remember watching AMA Supercrosses with him in it.
yeah.
And then that was my eye opener to riding at Glen Helen when I was 14. So
Crazy, crazy stuff, man. Yeah, yeah. So it's easy to pick what your favorite memory is of your time in the US, but that's easy. That's Southwick. But did you have who was on your team? Did you have like a favorite teammate or anything like that in your US time?
probably Hanny. Josh Hansen was my teammate. He'd always come over and eat all my Milo or my Tim Tam biscuits that we got sent over. So little
Yeah,
Hanny would come over. We was pretty close. But my teammates with Ivan Tedesco,
yeah,
Brock Sellards, so they were the other two teammates, me and Hansen. So it was Hanny's first basically professional ride, my first professional ride. Brock Sellards come from Red Bull KTM. And Tedesco was his second year on the team. So,
yeah,
but they were all really good dudes. They were all pretty, wouldn't say helpful, but we all hung out, we all rode together. There was never ever arguments. Everyone got on. So I still keep in touch with Sellers mechanic, Todd Brown now, my mechanic, which was Luke Couette. His name is a French Canadian, Frenchie. He's actually working for Honda IndyCars, building IndyCar engines right now. So still
okay,
keep in
yeah,
touch with those guys a little bit. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
yeah, cool. Cool, and then back to Australia, man, and on the Honda, and yeah, you're your last championship there, man, in is that
Six.
06?
Yeah, six.
Yeah.
Tough. I probably should have won the Supercross Championship in 05. I stuffed up one of the rounds and just bombed it, really, just stuffed it. TC ended up winning. I think he won by 1 or 2 points, Troy Carroll. So that was a bit of a shitter. But the Motocross Championship, I won the first round quite easily. Second round, I was winning quite easily. And then the week after the second round, I ended up crashing and breaking my foot. So I missed like 4 rounds of that year, and then come back at the end. Was good enough to win both championships, but just for little reasons didn't happen. And then 06 come around, and the week before the motocross championship started, I have a massive wreck at Supercross in Perth, separated my shoulder and got a bit of a concussion. So I started the motocross championship real, on the back foot, and just clawed my way back into it. And then I didn't get the points lead, but I was getting really close to Hurley. And the week before, 2 weeks before the Broadford round, I went practicing at Broadford and had a big shit mixer down one of the hills and got tangled up in the bike and broke my thumb. So when I went back to Broadford, which was round 8, that first moto, crashed in the second corner and come from last back to 5th or something with my broken thumb. But that same round, Hurley hurt his knee in the first moto real bad. So he didn't finish the first moto. So that 5th place gave me the points lead. And then he didn't ride the second moto. So I was just me getting hurt and toughening it out, Hurley getting hurt and couldn't continue. It snowballed into me winning the championship. So the points were down to like maybe 5 points or something before I broke my thumb and Hurley hurt his knee. So it was really tight. It would have went all the way to the last round. But I ended up getting enough points in the round 9 that I didn't even have to ride the 10th round because I was I was lucky there.
Yeah. So that would have been a pretty special championship.
It was because it was hard fought because it was a battle right from the get go, and having a shit year the year before with crashing, breaking my foot, and then missing the Supercross Championship by 1 point. To win that was pretty special because it was hard right from the get go, and I was on the back foot right from the first round. So it was like saying at the start of this, you'd have a bad round, you go home, sit on the lounge, and just think, shit, what went wrong? How to fix it? So that's where that thing come from. Is every round I would just get a little better, and then once I ended up going, I think the first round I went 4:12. Then the next round I went 3:3. The next round I went 2:2, and then I went like 6 motos in a row. Like I won every moto for a while. So that's what got me back into points. But yeah, that's sitting on Sunday night after a race going, oh, got better. Yeah, okay, we go again. And then to win the championship, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. And then after that, you were still on the Honda for a little while, and then you finished on a Yamaha.
Yamaha. Yeah, the next year, first round of Broadford, massive crash. My hand come off on one of the tabletops when I landed, or actually when I took off. For some reason, the handlebar jumped out. Like it twitched on the takeoff ramp, and I got a concussion, pretty good one. And I separated my shoulder again, and just a shit mixer, really. Just started that first round hurt, missed 3 rounds, then come back, and my first week of training back after the first round back, I crashed and hurt my other shoulder. So the 07 year was it was the worst year ever.
Yeah.
Team was good, bike was good. I just shit. And it was the first year I wore a neck brace, and I'd never crashed so much in my life. So I ended up I toughed it out and rode with the neck brace the next year. Still had crazy little crashes, and then I stopped wearing them, and then I stopped having the stupid little crashes. So not saying it was, but that was in my mind. And I just went through a real bad part in 07. It was probably I trained really well. I practiced really well. I just I just couldn't stay on the bike. Just
Yeah.
stupid crashes. And then at the end of 07, regrouped and then got ready for 08, and then the team changed, and Yariv was the team manager for 08. Bike was great again. Started the year pretty strong. Got all the way up to the Lakes round, which was round 8, I think it was that year. Winning both motos. First moto, the bike stopped with like a 10-second lead or something. And then the second moto, I got a flat tire. It ripped like it split the tire. Something must have been in the track, and it split the tire. So they tried to put a new wheel in, and by the time they put a new wheel in, I got going. I only just got back in the points.
Yeah.
And then the last round, I was probably the best I ever rode at Coolum, because I always struggled at Coolum. And then ate shit the second moto and pretty well done the splits, and that was all she wrote for that year for the motocross. And then for the supercross, I was actually quite decent. I was going okay. I was riding well. Bike was good, and I crashed and hurt my knee, the same knee that I hurt when I rode for Dakar. And that was supercross season. I had to get had to get my knee fixed. So that was 08 going, and then it went to that was the last year on Honda. Shame.
Yeah. And then on to your last few years on the Yamaha. Yeah.
No, I went to Cowie one year.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, 09.
Okay.
I finished 5th in the motocross championship and 5th in the supercross championship.
Yeah, I can't recall you on a Cowie. Yeah,
One year.
Yeah.
It was a tough year. It didn't work out probably the way I thought it was going to work out. Definitely probably trained harder in 09 and put more effort in 09 than probably I'd done in a lot of years, in most years. I was pretty well motivated to, show Honda that, you made the wrong call kind of thing. But just couldn't gel with the bike. It just, everything I wanted in the bike, it wasn't what I was liking. And I struggled to put the testing into words, what I needed to be fixed. And then they struggled to come up with a scenario to make it better. So it just got a snowball to be worse. And then at the end of the year, I couldn't wait to get out of there.
Yeah, and you were coming off a really good bike too. Like
I was, coming
off
those
Hondas, that
special,
sort of mid 2000 Honda 450s, man. Like
they were pretty special. Yeah,
they're always in the argument of the greatest bike ever.
Yeah.
So,
I think the worst bit was it was the first fuel injection bike.
Oh yeah.
So the power was, the carby bike had a better hit, and I rode the carby bike for so long and just knew it. Pip Harrison always built the engine so good, exactly how I liked it. So when I went to Cowie, it was not a lot of bottom, didn't rev really good. It just didn't suit me at all. So I really struggled with it. And just it's just one of those years that I couldn't explain how to fix it. They couldn't fix it. They didn't know what I was trying to come up with. And it just went downhill. But
and very different handling, those two bikes too. Very very different handling, especially very different steering.
Yes, and those Cowie, really needed a ride off the rear of the bike.
Yeah,
I think the Honda ride off the front of the bike. So I kind of struggled a little bit with that. I felt when I was riding, but like just say I was in a race and I was by myself, out in front or third place and with a gap, I felt like I could ride the Cowie quite good. But when I was in a battle, I really struggled to ride it and change direction under acceleration.
Yes.
I get what you mean. When if you get a bad start and you're trying to come through the pack, it's tough.
Yeah. Cool. And then, so what was your last year on the Yamaha? Is that like 11?
12.
Or 12?
2012 was when we had it was a very sweet Yamaha.
Yep.
So there was support from Yamaha. It was my last year. Looking back, I probably should have just went racing by myself and concentrated on me instead of having two other riders. Who knows if I would have done better, but I would have been probably more prepared instead of trying to help everyone else. So looking back, I was probably a little bit ahead. I was trying to make the future better. Trying to make the present better. And it kind of backfired a little bit, but you live and learn.
But that kind of led you in. Did that lead you into the Husky thing?
Yep.
Or, yeah.
So the next year, in 2013, I really went, okay, this is what I need to do. I trusted myself. I said, I'm just going to get one rider. I'm going to pay him good money, and I'm going to be the team manager and just have one rider mechanic and keep it real small. And we had Ty Simmons as our rider. He'd come and basically live down here with me. We went riding, we went training, and he was riding really well. But he just got maybe round 4 in, and he was honest. He just said, I can't. I'm scared. I don't want to do this anymore. Like I can't. I'm always worried and getting hurt and this and that. And I said, well, you've got to make a call. If you're in, let's do it. But I'm not the person that's going to make you ride because I'm giving you money. I said, you got to. If you want to ride, let's put in. Go home, have a think about it. Let me know what you want to do. If you want to keep riding, let's go. If you don't, I'm happy to we'll go our separate ways. There's no hard feelings because I know how dangerous the sport is. And if you are riding scared or you don't want to be there and then you get hurt, I would feel bad. So I give him a week to sit on it, and he rings me at the end of the week, goes, no, send me a release letter. And I left it for another 2 days thinking, okay, he said it, but maybe he might come back. I rethought off, I was going to come riding again.
The cooling off period.
And so I left it. This was on the Friday, and I left it all the way till Monday. And I didn't ring him. I didn't do anything. And he rang me. He goes, you haven't sent me the release letter. He goes, I'm done. And I'm like, all right, cool, sweet. And then so he's not racing anymore. And then he stopped. And then we got Shane Boyd, and he struggled a little bit with, I think he'd just, obviously he lost his ride with Dakar and then had a ride with Dale Hocking with a Honda. And so he was sort of on the downward spiral a little bit, at the end of his pro career. He'd been at the top for so many years. So he struggled to adapt with everything. And then he that's how it all ended up at the end of 2013. And then I was just in the box seat to have Husky with Leesky.
Yeah. Very good, man. Very good. It's interesting with what you're saying about Ty. That's really interesting because he's certainly done some things that are scary since, like desert racing and bull riding, man. Like
exactly. And but the thing that made me feel a bit better was I was pushing him pretty hard. Like I was like, man, you need to show the old Ty Simmons. You need to come and you need to win. So I was pushing him quite hard, and I thought when he quit, I thought maybe did I push him too hard? Did I expect too much? So I was a little bit. I didn't know what to think. But when he quit, and then he actually got a ride with Leesky on KTM to do enduro, and halfway through that year he quit on Leesky, and I was like, oh, okay. So it wasn't all me. He was really done. So that made me feel a bit better. But now he's riding bareback horses and bulls, and he's a crazy man. It's that's pretty. He's a pretty special talent, Ty. He's amazing at riding a dirt bike. He's as a sportsman, he's quite talented.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, crazy. Yeah, crazy. And then even after he's first go around, he's back on the KTM, like the desert team, winning Hatter, and like runner up at Fink to Toby and all this sort of stuff.
He's special, He's right from when he was a kid on a 65. He was always pretty talented. So.
And even that, he stopped the desert stuff pretty suddenly too, man. He was just sort of like,
I'm out. Yeah,
I think he won Hatter 1 year, and then it was just gone.
Yep.
And the next minute. Minute we hear he's riding bulls. Yep. Crazy.
Yes,
it's awesome though. It's awesome all the same though. Yeah, absolutely. Dude, I might grab just some memories from Motocross and Nations, man. Obviously it's very, very topical with our boys this year, and you represented. It's actually the Motocross of Nations statistics is so hard to track down. I was just, even like your race results and that sort of thing, you just can't find them. It's a really
Yeah,
difficult
it's
thing.
one of those
But
races.
but yeah, you represented 4 times from what I can gather.
Yep. So I was 95. I was 17. I rode an open class, 360 KTM.
Yeah, in
That was
Slovakia.
Yep, Slovakia.
Yeah,
The next year, 96 was in Spain.
yeah.
Then 97, I got picked. I think it was Belgium. 97. I got. I think it was. Is it Nims, Belgium?
Yeah. It was Belgium. I
I
can't
think it was
remember the
Belgium.
track.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I got picked in 97.
yeah.
I crashed. I was supposed to leave on the Saturday, and I crashed on the Wednesday and broke 2 ribs. So McFarlane ended up taking my spot and
Yeah.
wore my Ando helmet.
Oh, did he? Okay, yeah.
So I got picked 95, 96, 97, but I didn't go 97 because I got hurt. 98
Yeah.
was Fox Hills in the mud in England.
Yes. Yeah.
99, I got picked because I'd done 2 rounds of motocross and done really well, and they picked me for the team. But I declined because I was 100% with my knee. It was still really sore. So I declined not to go. And then I got picked again in 02. And then I think I got picked again. I'm going to say 05, 06, somewhere around there when Burner and Chad and a few couldn't go. And I think Denny Hantwin or Paul Broomfield went in the spot that I was going to take.
Yeah.
I just felt I'd been racing all year and I'd had enough.
Yeah.
So I got picked a bunch of times, but missed a couple through me didn't think I was ready. 99 and one getting hurt. So
yeah. What's your favorite? Do you have a favorite memory race or in the nations?
I would probably say they were all pretty special. The hardest one was Fox Hills in the mud. It took us 4 of us to lift a Wiser 250 onto the stand, 2 each side of the swing arm, one to hold the handlebars and one to put the stand under because it was that muddy.
Yeah.
But my first one was a massive eye opener. I rode the open class. I was 17, absolutely shitting myself, but still got decent starts. I'm not sure what I finished. I was probably maybe just inside the top 20. My most competitive year would have been Fox Hills in the mud. I think I was running in the first moto, maybe 6th. In the second moto, I got roosted real bad and in my eye, nearly took my eye out. I had no goggles on, so I didn't finish the second moto. But my best result, like the best I thought I was riding, was Fox Hills in 98. The races in Spain in 96, I'd done okay. I think I might have been, I'm going to say 7th or 8th in the 250 or something like maybe still just in the top 15, top 20. But I was kind of on the pace in the mud in Fox Hills.
Yeah. Cool. That 96 track in
Crazy.
That was
fitting in the road race garages and riding around the track up on the hill.
And some really big jumps, some really supercrossy big jumps.
That really hurt us. Ashkenazi hit one of the spectators coming down one of the hills on the 500. He was doing really well that year. He'd just come back from America. So he was just signed a deal with Honda back here in Australia, and he was riding really well. He qualified maybe 3rd or 4th on the 500. He was doing really well, but then hit a spectator coming down one of the hills. I don't know. He got a bit out of control and clipped one of the dudes and had a massive one. He didn't end up finishing. So that was a bit of a downer for our whole team. We lost a lot of, he was our strongest guy. And then 98, I had a shit round. Lee Hogan was my teammate, and he DNF'd the second moto too. So every year I seem to go to the donations. Either I had a bad race, someone else had a bad race, but we'd never ever had 3 good races. So it was, and it happens with every country, every couple of years. They'll have a couple of bad races. So
that's the whole thing of the nations, isn't it? It's all got to come together.
everyone's got to be on the same page at the same time to make it all work. Yeah, like, there's been a bunch of times that Michael Byrne, they were in a podium contention and Burner crashed and hurt himself. I think 0-1 they were doing really well in Namur was in Belgium, and Burner crashed and broke his wrist in one of the motos. So, yeah, just shit timing.
That's right. We finally got it done this year, though. That's the
How good's that?
It was amazing, man.
Cool. Yes.
Yeah,
It was special. Yes. Really good.
Yeah, they kept us nervous for a while there. It wasn't until really the last Even
Last
at
little
all,
bit,
really.
yeah.
Maybe the last 5 minutes, I was like, "Yeah, I'm pretty. Think we're right.
We're
You know, I
right.
think we're
Yeah.
right."
I think the
Don't
Americans
cover everything
surprised
up.
everyone too. I think the
Yeah,
Americans done really well. They
did
weren't
great.
really
Oh, yeah,
they weren't really a podium sort of thing. The Frenchies are always pretty solid. But yeah, I mean, both Lawrence boys and Webster, he done really well, and
great. Yeah,
everyone high, so it was great.
it was cool, man. It was cool. That's it. Dude, I might just move on to a few just fun questions I do towards
Yep.
the end. I don't know, it's I could talk more moto forever, but I don't like to keep people too long, man. Too
Yep.
long. Dude, what other skills do you have, man? Like, so what's other stuff? Like do you play
Absolutely
like
nothing. I'm
play
shit
an
at everything
instrument
else.
or
No, I started racing motocross when I was 8 years old, and I've never done any other sport competitively.
yeah.
I played soccer when I was 6
Yeah.
or 7, maybe 6 and 7, but I didn't get the ball enough, so that was shit. I didn't want to do that anymore. And then so my whole life has been motocross, really.
Yeah.
I haven't. I'm not really good at. I'm okay at swimming, but not. I'm no Olympian, but
Yeah.
probably the best that I can. I was always a decent at swimming. Everything else I struggled at. Still done.
Yeah.
It wasn't great.
What sort of swimming? Just like laps, just swimming
laps.
laps?
Yeah. Laps.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's good for you.
I used to play squash a little bit.
Okay. Yeah.
We used to play squash a little bit. I think I was okay at that. I wasn't the best, but I probably won. The players that I played with, Paul Broomfield and I used to play squash every week. It was pretty cool. So yeah, squash was pretty cool.
Yeah, cool. Geez, man, if too many names that we've talked about on this show that aren't with us anymore. Hey,
it is crazy. Yes,
too many. Yeah, It's I guess you do get to a stage. I mean, some of the guys I'm mentioning now, they're way too young. But yeah, you get to a stage in life where you start to lose too many, don't you?
We do. Yes.
It's
just
absolutely.
Like, life's just short, and you don't realize it until you get a bit older and you look back. You're like, man, it's when you're young and it's just go time. You don't really have time to sit back and think about shit until you get older, and you go, that's sad, So
It is, man. Yeah. Dude, what's your best advice for a young, let's say, just a young rider? What's your very best thing?
I think consistently ride as much as you can, and go to as many races as you can, and as many tracks as you can, as many terrain. When it rains, don't stay at home. Make sure you go riding, and just enjoy the grind. Enjoy the mindset it takes to be better every week, and embrace like the tough times, like that was a shit day, I crashed, or I got beat by a guy that's never beat me before. Like, make sure make it a challenge and push yourself to be better, and not quit.
Cool, man. I love it. Yeah, that's good, man. It's a similar theme I often get with that one around the lots of riding, man. Yeah,
Lots of riding.
Lots of
riding.
Yeah.
The year, I think 2008 was one of my biggest riding years. I think we'd done 20 races that year, and I went practicing 220 times.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah.
So a lot of riding. But me personally, I benefited from riding more. I had more confidence when I rode more. So
Yes.
I probably rode too much, but I knew I would gain confidence by riding more.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Very good, man. Dude,
Yeah.
what sort of music are you into?
Anything. I don't
Anything?
really have. I just listen to any music really.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I don't really have a like a set day. I love this. I just listen to anything. Katrina and Tatum are just and Trey are crazy music people, and I'm just that poor cousin that just listens to the
You just
radio
listen to
and
whatever the wife
just
and kids have
whatever's
got
going on.
going.
Yeah, yep. Even when I used to go training, I never used to listen to music.
Yeah.
I would go running or I'd go cycling, and I would never listen to music. I would just do my training. Where my family, it's just all music. You get in the car and they're pumping tunes,
Yeah.
and so I just listen to anything.
Yeah, yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, I'm always, yeah, I've got to have music going all the time. So
yeah,
yeah, I'm definitely one of those guys, man. Yeah, I might just throw in one more of my fun questions. Which one are we going to ask Ando? Oh, here's a good one I haven't asked for a while. So, when you're a young bloke, that celebrity chick, who was the celebrity chick with the poster on the wall? Like I always say, Kelly Bundy was for me. You know, from Married with Children.
shoot, I don't know. When I was like, where I don't no, I don't really. Maybe no, I don't know. No, it was just yeah. I was pretty my wife Katrina, when I met her, I pretty well perved on her the whole year at the races because her brother raced as well.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah. She
yeah,
was your mate's
she was
sister.
pretty
Yeah,
special to me. Like I
yeah,
always
yeah.
checked her out at the local club when we was riding, and I was
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
too scared to go and talk to her. So we ended up at the end of that year. I ended up getting to meet her, and here we are, 26 years later or something. Yeah,
Good job. Good job. No, that's a good one. Yeah, that's it. I love it, man. I love it. Cool, man. All right, there's just yeah, just one thing I do to close out the show, man. It's pretty unique and pretty weird to be honest, but I my outro music is a little bit of Kenny Rogers that I sing myself. So I always say if you know the words to The Gambler, you're more than welcome to join in. But
yeah.
most people don't, so don't feel obliged.
I'm not a real good singer. Like I'm definitely not going to get a gig.
Yeah,
Yes. No,
that's all right,
I don't
man.
mind the song. I actually like the song. That's pretty cool.
I don't know. Sometimes people will tell me it sounds good. Sometimes they don't, but I don't care. I just like doing it.
Yeah.
It's something I started doing, then it just stuck as the
That's it.
outro
That's cool.
of
That's
the
how you do
show.
it.
So
You don't. You got to do the stuff.
that's what I do, man. So I'll
Yeah.
just ease into a little bit of Kenny.
Cool. Awesome.
So I handed him my bottle, and he drank down my last swallow. Then he bummed a cigarette and asked me for a light, and the night got deathly quiet, and his face lost all expression. Said, if you're gonna play the game, boy, you gotta learn to play it right. You got to know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em, know when to walk away, know when to run. You never count your money. When you're sitting at the table, there'll be time enough for counting when the dealing's done. Craig Anderson, thank you very much for your time tonight. That's been
Really
an
appreciate you
absolute
having me
pleasure,
on.
man.
Thank you. Really, really awesome. It's great to to tell my story. Everyone has a story, whether whatever sport, work, whatever it is, and I like I like everyone's story. It's pretty cool. Even when I go to the local races, and you talk to other people, and they got their kid racing, and they used to race, and it's pretty cool. So
Yeah, that's it, man, and that's exactly what this show's all about, man. You know what? I love stories. That's the thing. I love hearing people's stories. Sometimes I'll have a bit of news about things that are going on, that sort of thing. But rather than that news breaking sort of journalist type of show, that I like the stories of people. That's what I find.
Yes, I think that
really
the stories
interesting.
of the older generation,
Yeah.
were probably a little bit more colourful than the newer ones,
Yeah.
because we didn't have the phones and the cameras, and the,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
it was a bit more, somewhat laid back, but everyone was a bit more easier going, you know, and you'd have more personality. Like if we're racing and you pissed me off, I would have been the first guy to give it to you, and then if I vice
Yeah.
versa, if you know I pissed you off, you'd be giving it to me. Where now I think everyone's a bit, you know, under the microscope a little bit
They
more.
are, man.
Scared to,
There's 10 cameras pointing at them at all times.
and always scared to be the villain, you know. And in
Yeah, that's
any
right.
sport, you need a villain and a hero, and
Absolutely, you
we
do,
need to
man.
have more personalities in our sport. If we can
Yeah.
have that, then you know you have a bit more color.
Absolutely, man. Yeah. Thank you for your time, man.
Thank you for
And
having me.
enjoy the rest of your evening.
Will
Cheers,
do.
man.
Cheers, mate.
Okay. Thanks, man.
Thank you. Talk to you.
No, cheers.
See you,
Bye.
mate. Bye.
See ya.